You're just the goodest boy, aren't you? You're so fluffy and funny and silly and smart. When you want to be. You're just a big mixed bag of awesomeness. Like a fantasy hybrid, except instead of different creatures, you're different dog breeds. I wonder what breeds you're actually made of. Or if that even makes a difference into who you are. Or if there's a difference between purebreds and mixed breeds at all. Like if there's a difference between fantasy hybrids and the creatures that they're made out of. What do you think? Should we go find out? Let's go! Come on! Come on! What do you first think of when I say fantasy hybrid?
My name is Marina Fisher. I'm curator and instructor at Nickel Galleries, Libraries and Cultural Resources at the University of Calgary. I think of symbolism.
Okay.
Hybrids are creatures composed of parts of different animals, including humans. They go all the way back to prehistory, all the way back to caves. We have depictions of hybrids in cave art. And there's some really famous examples from caves in France.
Cool.
Half bull, actually, usually we have half bull, half humans, or half deer and half human, and half lion and half human. So it is interesting to understand that this is not something new, but it goes all the way back to the very beginning of who we are. And it is interesting to see that these symbols emerged right away from the beginning, and they're here still with us today.
And what do hybrid creatures represent in mythology?
I'm Alana Vokes. I'm an artist. I have a background in fine arts and art history. I am also a naturalist, so I have a very strong interest in the natural world, and I'm also interested in video games. They're a really common mythological device, and as a result, there's a lot of ways to interpret them. The most obvious reading of hybrid creatures in mythology is that by combining the features of different creatures, they evoke a sense of otherness, and as a result, they represent a fear of the unknown or of the unnatural. Or hybrid creatures can be an exploration of identity and the complexities of human nature, representing the struggle between conflicting aspects of oneself. And this is especially true of human-animal hybrids. Or like with the Egyptian pantheon of gods, the fusion of animal heads and human bodies reconciled specific animal traits with the human experience. A particularly interesting example is the goddess Taweret. She was a combination of several creatures and a human. She was depicted as a bipedal hippopotamus with the legs of a lion and the tail of a Nile crocodile, and with a female human torso. She was a protective goddess of fertility and childbirth, and it's interesting to note that hippos, lions, and crocodiles are all very, very protective of their young. But basically, with mythological hybrids, a combination of creatures is more than the sum of their parts. They are more awesome, more powerful, and more terrifying than just the component critters.
These hybrids are multifaceted, and they have various levels of interpretation. One, for example, is the bridging of the two different worlds, or duality of nature, or guardianship, or creation of supernatural powers. So, for example, Sphinx is the unification of power and wisdom. So we have a lion with a human head. So we have different functions of these hybrids, and they bring something new to the meaning of the narrative or the symbolism of that particular story.
It makes sense that for someone who's like studied the mythology and done more research, that it would be the symbolism.
Yes.
It's like, I'm like, oh, cool creatures.
Yeah.
But I have a biology background.
Yes.
So it's fascinating to see how we view the same topic with such different lenses.
Yeah. Well, there is a theory that the inspiration for the hybrids was possibly when a predator was eating a prey in the wild. One of the examples they bring up is, for example, the snake, the python, eating the prey. So you can see the part of the snake, and then you can see the animal, the rest of the animal, as the python is actually swallowing it, or other similar situations. But in my mind, more than anything, these creatures are created in our psyche. They're created in our collective unconscious. And what it essentially means is that these are deep fears and dreams and traits that all humanity shares. And you can find them all over the globe and all over different cultures and different times. So when something like that happens, we know that we are dealing with something very important. And this is what we call the archetype. So it is important to pause in that case and think about representation and symbolism and meaning of those creatures. And yes, they are absolutely fun, and they're wonderful to create in art and draw and animate. It's important not to forget that subtle meaning of these creatures. And even though we are not necessarily aware of the communication of these stories or the messages of these stories, our human consciousness understands them and absorbs them and influences who we are. We are going to be affected by these ideas. The good thing is that to be aware of them and be conscious of influences and changes and transitions that are happening within you. In the other case, you're just not aware of what's going on, and you're just not really sure why you are the way you are, and why do you feel the way you feel, and why do you like these things or not the others. That is all happening whether we want it or not.
Do you think that fantasy creatures evolve in the same way that normal animals do?
I think that would depend on their reproductive strategies. So I think if there was a sufficient population of the same species of fantastic creature, and they reproduce and pass along genetic material in a similar way to regular creatures, I can't see why they wouldn't be subject to the rules of natural selection.
But there is also like a lot of fantasy hybrids that are made magically. My name is O'Darren Tobin.
I am a big sci-fi and fantasy geek and have been for pretty much my whole life. I've been into Dungeons and Dragons for many years now, as well as playing some other tabletop games in which I've played and been the game master for. And I'm also writing my own sci-fi narrative podcast with some friends.
Owl bears actually come to mind as that. They're sort of mythology, their lore is that they were created by a sort of mad wizard sort of situation.
Really?
It's like, I want an owl and I want a bear and I want to put them together. I think there's definitely some situations where it wasn't natural. It was very unnatural. Yeah.
So what do you think about evolution in fantasy, like you'd find in Pokemon or something like that?
Yeah, Pokemon. I do love Pokemon. Charmander to Charizard is a pretty classic evolution, and I do love the idea that like its flame on its tail is a signifier of its life force. So yeah, I think there's some cool stuff in Pokemon that talks about biology as well as like evolution. And like this whole idea that I think even with Charmander as an example, the flame on their tail burns hotter the more they evolve, to the point that's why like a Charizard's tail is not going to usually go out from the rain, but a Charmander's will, because it burns hotter and hotter and hotter. I do think Bulbasaur is another great example.
I
of
love
like,
Bulbasaur. He's my favorite.
Well, he's a really like within like the lore and the of the Pokemon is also one that like really shows the evolution and like the idea of like growing, right? Because he has the bulb on his back, Bulbasaur. When he grows into Ivysaur, it starts to flower, but it hasn't completely flowered. And then as Venusaur, it is completely bloomed. It's a giant flower. Also, I think there's like something to do with like the way it blooms, like will help the forest around them and things like that, which gives them more food to then keep growing and growing and growing, and things like that. Pokemon's great for that sort of thing. Also a little bit dark sometimes. There's some Pokemon that have some pretty scary lore.
We don't have to go into that
No,
today.
yeah. You can look that up on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to look that up right now because it honestly sounds upsetting. But we will head back to Center Street Vet to learn a bit about dog evolution and genetics from...
My name is Bianca Kumar. I am a veterinarian assistant, like technician assistant, and I also help up in reception as well.
Thanks for meeting us again, Bianca.
Yeah.
As we're here to talk all about dog genetics, since we're gonna do some DNA testing on our big guy here, try to figure out what breeds made this beautiful boy.
Fun.
So how did dogs evolve? Was it naturally?
So I mean, dogs originate from wolves, but the way they kind of come together that we have these cute fluffy guys is that there's a lot of artificial breeding that goes into play. So of course, culprit is a lot of humans. So originally a lot of dogs were bred for kind of like purposes. So a lot of times it was like hunting, kind of like keeping guard dogs, essentially, things like that. So a lot of times they were bred for a purpose of some kind. But as like time went on, people eventually started wanting to having them as like a companion, and eventually through mixing and matching all these different type of dog breeds that people had made, you start getting these smaller dogs, ones that are more pertaining to how someone would like. So if someone wants something that's a little bit more fluffier, you get these dog breeds that are now like hypoallergenic, because people don't want them to have release those chemicals that a lot of people can be allergic to. So there's just a ton of like stuff that goes into like people mixing and matching and kind of like picking apart different dog breeds that they can find, and then eventually you end up with whatever you've got. You end up with Arbors.
Right, which is a great thing.
Yes.
But are there any downsides to breeding, like those purebreds bred for specific purposes? Are there any like kind of standard health issues that come with that?
Yeah, so some it's unfortunate, but sometimes a lot of times with purebreds, they are usually tend to be more prone to like certain health issues. So certain breeds, just by default, it's a chance that they'll develop eye problems, ear problems, skin problems. It's just kind of a result of the breeding that they have experienced. Interestingly enough, the more you mix a breed, the chance of them actually having some of these characteristics is a little bit less. But when you have these purebreds, it's like you're passing along those traits, and they just keep going on and on. But like I said, as you get these mixed breeds, kind of is a little bit less.
Right, and purebreds, because you have to keep within that breed line, so you're just drawing from like fewer individuals, like a smaller pool.
Yes.
Whereas if you have a question mark mixed breed like Arbor, the pool could be an ocean.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so much more to pick and choose from, whereas having something much more limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you wouldn't mind helping us, I have a DNA test for us to figure out exactly what Arbor is made of.
I would love to help with that.
Okay, stay right there, buddy. All right, now I haven't done one of these before, so I'm going to let you jump in and take the lead here.
All right. All right, buddy. It's gonna be a little intrusive. I'm sorry.
We just need to swab your gum and cheek
All right, buddy.
for 20 seconds.
All right, buddy. Is it okay if I touch your mouth?
This feels pretty good.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry. This is gonna be a little weird.
Do you need me to come help you?
Here, buddy. All right.
Here,
Buddy. I know.
You're okay, Arbor. It's okay. It's okay.
I know. You gotta give your face to me a little bit more, buddy. All right, there we go. Oh.
Good boy. You're okay, Arbor.
I know. Oh,
You're
no,
okay. You're okay.
oh, I know, buddy. I'm so sorry.
I'm glad I didn't try to do this by myself.
I mean, got quite a nice sample in there. Oh, yeah. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Okay. Great, and then we'll just pop it into the drying zone.
Ooh.
I will just close that on us.
I'm so sorry.
You did so good, buddy. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And I'll definitely let you know what this beautiful boy turns out to be.
I'm excited to find out.
Okay, you ready to go, buddy? Yeah, okay, come here. Yeah, okay. Okay, ready? Oh. I am so excited. But since we have to wait for the results, it's time to see if we can stump our fantasy experts with some questions that no one but me is prepared for. And now it's time for some very important questions. So we go to the very important question binder. And I'm going to ask you questions about hybrid creatures and how they would relate to the component animals that they're made from. How would Sharktopus, front half shark, back half octopus, compete against a shark or an octopus?
So I don't know Sharktopus.
You should watch it. Watch it.
Apparently I need to watch it.
It's very fun.
I've heard that he's big,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm inclined to give it to Sharktopus. He?
I don't know.
Okay, it. I'm inclined to give it the advantage just on size alone versus your average octopus. But you know, if it's a matter, if the win condition for the octopus is just survive and it can just run away, maybe it gets away. I don't know the speed of Sharktopus.
I think they're fairly quick. but
Okay, maybe
I can't-
Sharktopus takes it.
Sharktopus is a pretty
I was trying to
terrifying
find a way for the
creature.
octopus to
Yeah.
win, but I don't. Yeah, I think giant Sharktopus is. Yeah,
It's a tough creature to beat.
How do you beat it?
So that would be a really interesting combination, and I think that the hybrid Sharktopus would win because you have the bitey parts of the shark, but you also have the embodied intelligence of the octopus. They're very interesting because their neural system is sort of all through their body. It's not just in their like their head, like with us. So it would have that kind of intelligence combined with the shark, and I think that would be truly terrifying.
The question really would be, does Sharktopus have the limitations of both a shark and an octopus? And that Sharktopus has to constantly be swimming in order to breathe. Because if it doesn't, then I think you've got some pretty strong advantages in the package of Sharktopus. But if it's got to be constantly swimming, I think giant octopus of the same scale
I think
might edge it out.
Sharktopus in the movie came up on land.
See, and in
So
that
I
case, you know, I gotta give it to Sharktopus. Like, this creature, he can go anywhere he wants.
Who would be more dangerous in a china shop? A man and a bull, or a minotaur?
I think that it depends on the temperament of the bull.
Okay.
I think that if a man is able to control the bull, I think that probably the minotaur, just because like if he actually wanted to wreck shop, then there'd be no way to stop him. If the man was inclined on stopping the bull, then maybe he could. I think a bull is kind of like just bigger lengthways, so I feel like it could do more damage if it was so inclined.
Right.
The minotaur, I imagine, like is long like vertically.
Right.
Yeah, so I think he'd just have to throw himself around a lot more, whereas a bull could just like turn around a couple times, you know? Yeah.
I think the man and the bull would do more damage. The man is probably going to do just as much damage as a minotaur, honestly. Like, just because it's bigger, it's not hard to break China.
Right.
So, yeah.
How would a chimera, lion head, goat body, serpent or dragon-headed tail, fare in a mountain climbing contest against a mountain goat?
The mountain goat would win.
Why?
They always win. They're unstoppable. I am on team mountain goat, 100%.
Okay, the tailed creature always wins. This is easy. That's like the more bits that you have in contact with the ground, the more agile you are, right? Which is why our four-legged friends are better. They're faster. They're more sure-footed than us. You throw a prehensile tail in there, advantage tail.
Chimera especially is difficult. I mean, if you look at that combination, like lion, goat, snake, what is happening? I think the other hybrids make a lot more sense. Even if we look at mermaids, for example, half human, half fish, or Egyptian gods that are all half human, half animals. There is a meaning to those hybrids. There is an aim to explain something. And with Chimera, I just see chaos. I just see chaos. And I think Chimera is probably an excellent example of human imagination running wild.
Human imagination gone wild, eh? That gives me an idea. Let's meet up at Vocab Athletic Arts with a few of Arbor's dog pals for a friendly competition to test the difference between mixed breed and pure breed dogs.
Chris. This is my dog Kenobi. He's an American Pit Bull Terrier.
I'm Kiana. This is Kaiser. He is a Pit Bull Rottweiler cross.
I'm Nick. This is Storm. She's a Lab Border Collie Pit Bull Leonberger mix.
And I'm Sarah, and this is Arbor, and he is a mystery. And a menace. Race 1 is seeing just how they run to us with no special incentive. Race 2 is how they run when there is a squeaky toy incentive. And race 3 is how they run when there is a delicious piece of cheese as the incentive.
Come. Come.
Very good.
I don't know if he's ready. Kaiser, this is it. Look at me.
I know. Are you coming too? Freak. Good boy, Kaiser.
Okay.
Wait, come on, come here. Where are you going? Come back. All right, well.
So gentle. This is a ball catch test to see if they can catch a ball.
Oh, good catch. Good catch. Sit. Everyone gets 3 tries. Ready? So close. So close. Okay. One more. Okay, come here. Sit. 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 Kenobi's losing his mind. Ready? Oh, good job, buddy. Good job. Catch. Ready? Kenobi, ready? 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 Okay, catch. Kenobi, what? Kenobi, do you have to do the other ball? All right, we'll try Kenobi again at the end. Ready? Catch. Oh, almost. That was too high. I know, that was me. Okay, thank you, good girl. Catch. Oh. Ready? Ready? Catch. Oh, she got it. Good job. Good girl. Good girl. Ready? Catch. Oh. Oh no. Wait. Catch. Oh. This is a tough ball for you today. Oh, it's a good boy. Yeah. Okay, can I have it? Can I have it? Yeah, good job, buddy. Oh. Come here. You gotta stop letting it just hit you in the face. You wanna go that way, but the camera's over there. Oh, there you go. So we're gonna try one more time. Face the camera, please. All right, come here. Ready, Kenobi? Ready? All right, those are your attempts.
This is a self-control test. We're going to put a treat on the ground, walk away, and see if they can resist the treat.
Say, don't say. Say. Leave it. Leave it. Good job, guys. Good boy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Sit. Down. No, 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 no. Okay, okay. Wait. Break. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah.
Stay. Is she good there? Yep, that's perfect. Stay. Leave it. Leave it.
Arbor, you might win this one. Maybe. We'll see how Kenobi's feeling.
Sit. Good there?
Yep.
Yeah, Kaiser's just like, I got a treat. Nice.
Leave it. What was that?
Wow, I genuinely never expected Arbor to win any of that. I'm so proud. And while we bask in this victory, I've got one more very important question for our fantasy experts. If you could be any fantasy hybrid, or make your own new fantasy hybrid, what would you be and why?
I think I have a really basic answer, which is I would probably want to be a half elf. Just
Okay.
like, that's a hybrid, I think. And, you get all the benefits of being an elf, but you don't have to deal with the angst of living forever.
Mermaid has got to be up there, like merperson, I should say. Especially if I get to keep my legs and then I transform if I touch water, which would be annoying.
It's a splash. Like,
Yeah, I definitely have to text my friends and be like, I'm coming over, put the water away.
Choose your friends very carefully.
Yeah. I feel like you would definitely pour water on me.
Once or twice.
But yeah, I mean, they're graceful, they're beautiful. They have, potentially they're like sirens. They have beautiful singing voices. As an artist, I feel like that applies some stuff to me. I'm a little bit afraid of like oceans, but I feel like I would be less afraid as a mermaid, right? Like hopefully I can outrun. Outswim, thank you. Well, I can outrun most animals in the ocean as well. But hopefully I can outswim most of the animals in the ocean if I'm a mermaid. So mermaid's a pretty good choice.
Anything with the ability to fly, that's a must for a fantasy hybrid for me. Got to be able to fly. Other than that, yeah, I probably want high intelligence. Actually, and I don't know if this counts as a hybrid creature, but you think about like a fantasy sphinx. They're not. They're kind of underutilized, I think, a little bit. But usually they have some sort of hybrid features.
Can I put a
right? I guess a sphinx is kind of a hybrid creature to begin with, right? It's got a human face and an animal body.
Yeah, it's a hybrid for
sure. A lot
sure.
of fantasy sphinx as well then have like wings and stuff like that. So I think it kind of taps into everything I'm getting at. Plus then you've got you disagree, Arbor?
Come here.
Plus then you get into that fun like you're this ancient mystical being that is sort of otherworldly. I know. There's so many places to go.
I disrupted you. I should have left you lying down.
Yeah.
Okay, sit.
Yeah, so I think with a sphinx, you kind of also get into that more sort of eldritch horror element of it, like a creature beyond time and human understanding. So I think that's kind of cool as well. So that's what I'll go with. I'll go sphinx.
Yeah, I know. I would be a mermaid because, dude, if I had grown up on the coast, I would have dropped out of high school and been a surfer. Like, I love being in the waves specifically. And well, I mean, that ship has sailed, but I still love to body surf and stuff. And if I were a mermaid and could breathe underwater, I would be out there finding like the biggest breaks, like in Tahiti and places in Portugal. There's no question. And if I get the little bit of shape-shifting in there, but even if I had to give up my human shape.
Oh, wow.
I would do that.
I would absolutely want wings and the ability to fly. However, although I love birds, bird wings have been really overdone with the whole hybrid creature thing.
Right.
So maybe dragonfly wings, because dragonflies are extremely agile and powerful flyers. And unlike birds, they can move in any direction. And then combining that with something maybe like a coyote or a fox would be a really fun combination that would be able to achieve all kinds of mischief given the power of flight. Just be very chaotic, and I like that.
Yeah, that feels like an incredibly chaotic creature.
Yeah.
I love that though. That would be, oh man, that would be fun to play.
Yeah, a video game with that as your little protagonist, that'd be great.
Yeah, like you could have like an Untitled Goose Game, but with that creature.
Yeah.
Such a fun range of hybrid creatures. I love how creative and clever our fantasy experts are, and the email just came in. Arbor, the results, they're here! Okay, Arbor, it's time to find out what breeds you are. We have his DNA test results here, and I'm so curious to find out if he is the breeds that we think he is. Now, from his foster family, they had some guesses, and I think these too. I think that he is a German Shepherd, Husky, Collie mix. Because from his neck to his butt, he looks like a German Shepherd, and he's got the coloring of the Shepherds. His face shape and his ears and his fur type are very rough Collie, like a Lassie sort of dog. And then his eyes, his tail, and big chunks of his personality are very Husky. So, let's find out. Are you ready, Arbor? Are you ready? Does it matter to you? A little bit? Okay, a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so we were pretty right. There's 75% Siberian Husky, which makes a lot of sense for his body shape, his tail, his eyes, his personality. And then the Australian and English Shepherd, I think, is where maybe that's where we're guessing the Collie comes from, and the color. I think that shepherd body. The Malamute, I never would have expected, since Arbor's not that big, but maybe that's where some of his extra fluffiness comes from, because Malamutes have pretty thick coats. Let's learn more about Huskies. All right, playful, they're part of the Spitz family, known to be adventurous, independent, and mischievous. Very intelligent, yep, we got that. Outgoing personalities, known for giving a wicked side eye. Yep, they have a stubborn streak. Yep. The Malamute is independent, resourceful, intelligent, and loyal. Arbor is definitely all of those things. And then Australian Shepherds were bred to herd livestock over vast distances. Arbor doesn't really have the stamina for this, but I guess when you mix everything together, we lose some of that. Oh, they're true puppies at heart and love to be in the company of people. So that holds. Arbor does he's very social. He loves to be around people. Intelligent, eager to please, and seem to sense what is expected of them. Sometimes. Sometimes Arbor wants to please, and I do usually feel that he knows what I want, he just doesn't want to do it, which is where the Husky comes out. And then the English Shepherd. So maybe this is where the German Shepherd guess was coming from. So jack of all trades. That's true, Arbor does have a pretty diverse skill set, and he's quite trainable. He doesn't want to listen all the time, but he can pick up on skills and tricks pretty quickly. Well, that was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Yeah. And you know, we actually learned a lot about what breeds you might be made out of, and that can help us keep you healthy for longer. Because a lot of different dog breeds, especially the purebreds, have different health problems, like Bianca was talking to us about at the vet. And so by learning what breeds he is, we can be ahead of the game in terms of what injuries or health problems he might have down the road, helping me keep him healthy for longer. Arbor, you want to be with me for longer?
A little bit of chaos for the episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for If It Were Real. As you can see, it's been a long process, and we're so grateful for everyone who has helped us out through this. So first, I want to give a huge shout out to my crew, especially O'Darren and Jeffrey. They've been behind basically every single shot you've seen here. Joe and O'Darren, who helped me craft this wonderful show, along with my big fluffy guy Arbor here. And then we had our fantasy experts. We had Davis, Jen, Marina, Jillian, O'Darren again, and Alana. Our friendly neighborhood firefighters, Carol, Randy, Adam, and Rod at the Calgary Fire Department. Sarah the aerialist, who was our fire artist, Vinci our dietitian, and Scout, our creative experiment extraordinaire. We had Kiana and Bianca at Center Street Vet, Jillian Moon, our elven aerialist, JP and Vidge helping us with our scent training, and Calvin helping us bake all the wonderful fantasy goodies. And finally, Nick and Storm, Chris and Kenobi and Kiana again, and Kaiser helping us out with some wonderful dog competitions that Arbor trounced them in, didn't he? Yes, he did. And then we have a huge thank you for TELUS and the StoryHive Voices program for funding this project and giving me lots of support and encouragement all the way through. I really couldn't have done it without you. Same with the support from the City of Calgary and Janet and the Libel Insurance Group. Again, couldn't have made this show in Calgary without both of your help. Carol at the Calgary Fire Department for being so supportive and helping us be able to film at not only Calgary Fire Headquarters, but the Fire Training Academy as well, where we got to run around on a pile and get really tired, which was great. Vocab Athletic Arts for not only letting us come and do aerials, but bring a bunch of dogs there to run around like maniacs. Center Street Vet for giving us lots of wonderful doggy details and helping me take that DNA test. That would have been very hard by myself, I now see. Calgary Farmyard for letting us come and film at night in your beautiful location and see those incredible northern lights. I will never forget that. And finally, Nate Shaley and the entire team at Geek Tropical. I've loved wearing your shirts, they're so comfortable, and I love that you print everything made to order, you support independent artists, and honestly the hardest part was choosing the designs because you have way too many incredible designs, and I'm so grateful to wear your shirts. Thank you again, everyone. Please follow us over at Arbor the Science Dog on Instagram and YouTube for more fantasy science chaos. Let's go! Okay. We did it! But we're not done. We have one more thing to shoot. I just have the image of a snake with frog legs, like growing out of the side of its mouth, just running along, has been stuck in my head since you said that was the inspiration, which would be a really funny sticker.